I've
And he
been saying the
said,
whole time that it was fake, man. I say it all the time. I'll say it again because it's a marksman. You know what I'm saying? And he got you in the scope. Like he got a clear shot. He's not hitting your ear, man. You're not getting up after that talking about yeah, and like to me, there's been a whole lot of theater. America is good with theater. We do it globally, man.
Prove to me that you are alive.
Got a new administration. What's going on? Like, how are you seeing what's going on in America? How is America changing? How is America being impacted? And do you think we're walking into better days or worse days, especially with everything going on in the last couple of weeks? Like, what do you feel about this administration?
I think one of the dangers is this administration has eliminated effectively a lot of the oversight. So it's able to do what it wants without a lot of pushback. A good example is what I was talking about with the supercomputer in Memphis. There's no EPA to look over it because the Trump administration got rid of that oversight. So uh, I think I think the main the most dangerous thing that's happening now is that this administration has no problem being mean, and everything that's done, whether you think it's right or wrong, is done with meanness, and that meanness uh, uh, winds up coming back to bite. Even people trying to push back on it are pushing back with meanness at a time there's just uh, there's just too much of it. I think uh, if there's a danger, it's that this president has no problem pushing the limits of what his power is. Like there's no set amount of executive orders that a president can do, which is like the law without having to deal with Congress. Most presidents did it sparingly. This president just does it. He's just challenging the courts to keep up, and that's tough. You know, that's tough. I think the worst part right now is like if you go back two elections, back when maybe it was three, I don't remember, when Barack Obama ran against Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, somebody had a recording, and you got a chance to hear Mitt Romney talking to rich people
Hmm.
different than he talked to us. And that bit of peek behind the curtain, that bit of truth corrupted his campaign. He was convicted by the truth. And his poll numbers started to slip after that because we got a chance to see that he was different behind the scenes than he was out front. And this administration effectively, what Donald Trump did effectively, is the concept of fake news. You see him do something,
Mm.
says, "No, I didn't." "Yes, he did." "No, I didn't." "Yes, he did." "No, I didn't." Fake news, tie goes to the runner. And you can't you can't prosecute him on things that aren't true anymore. And that's probably the most dangerous part, is that the truth doesn't play a big enough role anymore. You just call it fake news. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Oh, it's an argument. We can't decide it. So tie goes to the runner, and you can't prosecute it. That's probably the worst part. There's authoritarianism. Uh, that's how it seems to me. I recognize that there are other people that don't feel that way.
Hmm.
But the challenge is The challenge is not so much that it's one way or the other, but it's that Americans are losing the ability to speak to each
Hmm.
other. That's an advantage. That's an advantage that music has that society uh, doesn't have. And what I mean is, when even if I'm right, let's say my political views are 100% right, but the only people that I can talk to are people that think like me. Well, I'm still part of the problem
Hmm.
because the country doesn't just involve people that think like me. Uh, Even a person that you diametrically agree with, even a person that you know is wrong, they still have an issue that needs addressing, right? We can't go, well, they're wrong, so we can't. They're not part. They're not part of the. They're not part of the equation anymore. They still are. the The challenge is not who's right and who's wrong. The challenge is, how do we all go forward from here?
Hmm.
There's the challenge. And that's what takes wisdom. It takes more than just having your facts right. It takes the ability to go forward. Like with music, if I press down all the keys on the keyboard, that's going to be a big mess.
Hmm.
Right? But when I play music, what you're hearing is a path forward for that mess. Well, that's what we need to do with people. We need to find a path forward for this mess that we're in. And we have to be able to do it by talking to each other.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. You know, I'm glad that you touched on wisdom because I've noticed that Eurocentric Western society is very focused on intelligence. And this is why, like, let's say artificial intelligence, and we measure, Chat GPT, oh, it's as smart as Einstein, and we forget about wisdom and we equate wisdom to being old. But I equate wisdom to intuition. I equate wisdom to love. I equate wisdom to, sometimes you can hear a little kid like 3, 4 years old. Maybe he doesn't have much, book information, but he can tell you something so mind blowing at that instance. And you're asking yourself, like, where did that come from? And to me, that is that inner wisdom. That is that intuition. Like, God forbid we blow ourselves up, in a nuclear war. A gorilla will still be walking around butt naked, scratching his butt and picking the food off the tree, while we go through all these different hoops just to go buy the food. You know what I'm saying? First, you got to
Right.
have somebody pick it, then put it on the truck, then bring it, and then carbon emission, a ship, and then pay somebody to unload it. Like animals, you look at animals, they don't have to do all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm always asking myself, is intelligence the highest of all, or like you said, wisdom? Because I think, like we talked about before, music is that divine spark which comes from that inner wisdom, and so this is what I want to ask you. You can talk about it. If not, let me know. What did you think about this whole assassination attempt thing? Like, when the bullet went by his ear, like, did you buy that really?
Well, it's a tough one because somebody did get killed behind him. You know what I mean? Like, there was a bullet that went because we know that somebody was killed behind him. Uh Again, I don't like to comment on things that I don't have a lot of information on. I do
Just your
know.
opinion. Just your opinion. Like,
Well,
because you,
let me say this. Let me say
yeah.
this. Uh, I don't. I wasn't there. I don't know. I do know that most of the time when a bullet causes you to bleed, it leaves a scar.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Uh, I don't know, and I don't think it's. I don't think it's. I don't think it's helpful for me to start that rumor. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I do I do know that it certainly helped him to get elected.
Exactly.
And I do know that somebody got shot. right?
But listen, they will sacrifice somebody to
Yeah,
do
and
the show. They sacrifice people all the time. That's
listen,
the thing.
no, I'm with you. I hope that somebody didn't have to die just so they would perpetrate a hoax. I hope that's not what it was. And I don't, I don't have the information to say one way or the other. So I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to stir that pot and start turmoil that doesn't need
Yeah, nah, that's honorable. That's honorable.
to
I've been
be
saying the
stirred.
whole time that it was fake, man. I say it all the time. I'll say it again because it's a marksman. You know what I'm saying? And he got you in the scope. Like he got a clear shot. He's not hitting your ear, man. You're not getting up after that talking about yeah, and like to me, there's been a whole lot of theater. America is good with theater. We do it globally, man.
That's the truth. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to what you said, and what you're alleging. There's plenty of examples of it. I hope that somebody didn't get sacrificed just to perpetrate to perpetrate uh that moment. That was a galvanizing moment that helped him to get elected. I hope that's not what it was. I do know that I don't have the information to say it was this or it was that. So I'm not going to say I think it was this way or that way because I don't think that it's necessarily uh helpful. But what I do know though is that where we are now, the way that we're conducting ourselves in a way that's not helpful. In other words, uh, in politics, the Republicans don't want to. It doesn't seem that either side is necessary. Both sides are looking to harm the other side. Both sides are looking to win. While the American people are suffering, we don't just need winners.
Mm,
American people need some things. I mean, like if you when you listen to both sides talk about politics, they talk about the working class. They're both trying to be the party of the working class. But there's so much poverty below the working class that
mm,
nobody speaks to. Like if you look to the numbers. The bottom 50% of wage earners, that's not even counting the homeless that don't have jobs.
mm,
Just the bottom 50% of the wage earners have 2.5% of the wealth.
mm,
That's a lot of suffering. That's a lot of suffering. While the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90% of the wage earners. That doesn't even include the homeless. The top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90% of us, and the top 10th of 1% owns more than the entire middle class combined.
mhm.
And they're the ones that pay very little tax. Now, there's a problem, right? There's a problem despite your politics, right? The people at the bottom are suffering. The bottom 50% of wage earners have 2.5% of all of it. There's a problem, right? There's a problem. And if our politics uh only speaks to the working class, that means that we're ignoring the majority of the people, right? Because most people are either at least 50% of us are underemployed if we're
Mhm.
employed at all. I mean, think about that. Think about the amount of pain in that statistic. The bottom 50% of wage earners, like here's all the wage earners, and you put them in half and you slide these over here, and they have 2%, 2.5% of the whole pie. Most people are suffering, and I mean, we're arguing left versus right. Most of the problem is top versus the bottom.
Mm,
There's a problem. Top versus the bottom, especially when the top doesn't really have to pay tax,
mm,
right? I mean, if the top 1% just had to pay the same proportion of taxes as the bottom of us, we could solve every Medicaid, Medicare, free lunch, all of it would be solved. The problem is not economics. The problem is who gets a chance to participate and who gets a chance to be exempt. Now there's the problem. There's the problem. The people that own most of it don't have to participate in taxes. Right? You can't get out of paying taxes. I can't get out of paying taxes. You know what I mean? I can't, but they can. And if they only had to pay the same percentage that we had to pay, dang, it all be paid for. We could pay down the national debt. We could do all of it. We could put money in everybody's pocket. I'm not saying that we should. I'm just saying that they should have to participate if we have to participate if we're going to talk about equality and really mean it. Right? If they get a chance to not participate in taxes and we have to participate, then how meaningful is our speech about equality, liberty, and justice for all? Those as empty as can be if they get a chance to be exempt and we're forced to participate.
Do you think a big problem is that a lot of these policymakers and a lot of these politicians that they are so far detached from like the regular quote unquote the regular population that they come from these long dynasties and they have these I like to call them sponsors or donors or whatever, and they are so detached from what reality is like on the ground. You think that might be a big issue?
Well, then that's some of it. That's some of it. I mean, some of it is what our country stands for, right? Our country, if you look at the United States, what made us the United States? Was it liberty and justice for all, or was it free labor? Right? Was it liberty and justice for all, or was it the slaughter of a people to make room to build a country?
Prove to me that you are alive.
You see what I'm saying? The thing that's at the root of us being American, a lot of it is exploitation. The words were right, but the actions were different. Right? We were saying liberty and justice for all while we were putting down.
Except, right? Except a group of people, right?
Well, yeah, we were saying the right thing, but it wasn't the truth. What the country was really founded on, what made America great, aka powerful, in the beginning, was the amount of money that could be made from free labor. Right? And we forget that Indians were enslaved right alongside of the Africans. There was a parallel Indian slave trade. They were digging up the silver and mining the gold. They were the slaves first. In fact, that's why the African slave trade started, because Christopher Columbus over a few decades, ran through all of the natives in the islands. So they had to institute the African slave trade to get more free labor. So a lot of it has to do with what the country is founded on. Our country is founded on making as much money as possible, paying as little as possible.
By any means necessary, basically.
Yeah, by any means necessary. Now, the other thing also, though, is nowadays it's so expensive to run for office that you have to get that funding from somewhere. And once you do, you're beholden to the people that bring those millions. The gun lobby, right? The right can't be too anti-gun, because for you to be able to afford to be a politician, you have to be on board. And especially in the House, where they are never not campaigning, they're always close. They're always less than 2 years away from a new election. You see what I mean? So if you're on the right, you can't be gun reasonable and still plan on having enough money to run for another election. So it's tough to stand for the right thing and be able to afford to run against somebody Who like how do you win an election? Elon Musk, you know, $250 million he put
Right.
behind candidates. It's hard to
Hmm.
beat that guy.
Right.
But the thing that the American people need to remember is that we're still the deciders of what's important.
Hmm.
Right? Our numbers matter. If you look at the last time Donald Trump was president, and remember at the border, there was an issue about the kids in cages. They were putting kids in cages at the border. Well, nobody like that, right? Nobody like that on the left and the right.
Hmm.
And within 24 hours, he totally flipped his stance on kids in cages because it matters what the American people think. As long as we're divided, we're easy to control.
Hmm.
As long as we're divided, we're easy to control. But if we're united on something, politicians have to change because they need our cooperation.
Hmm.
They need our cooperation, which is why there's always something to divide us over. Easy to control when you're divided, and the part that requires the most wisdom is to talk to somebody that doesn't think like you
Hmm.
and find a path forward. Do you see what I mean? Now that requires
That's another quote, man. I'm writing them down.
okay, you're free to use all of them, but that's more important than who's right and who's wrong. We get stuck on who's right and who's wrong, and then we try to get in the camp with the people that we agree with, da 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 da, and we stay divided. The issue is how do we move forward and still respect each other,
Hmm.
right? And that's doable. And if we can do that, then when we learn to do that, then we'll be less susceptible to an authoritarian,
Hmm.
right? We'll be less susceptible to an authoritarian. There was a guy that I used to go back and forth on Facebook with, and we go back and forth. After a while, I was like, "We're doing so much typing. Here's my number. Just call me." Right? And when he called me, things were much better because we were actually talking to each other.
Right.
We weren't just sniping points back at each other. After a while, I realized his wife was sick. Uh, I realized he's a music fan.
Hmm.
He liked my music. Uh, he knew about my kids. I, found out about his daughter, and we had genuine likes for each other's lives.
And a real connection, right?
Yeah, real connection. Our politics were different. They're still different,
Hmm.
right? Now his wife has since passed away. And it dawned on me, like, I'm glad that the last thing I said to him wasn't something divisive and political.
Right.
Right? We had genuine concern for each other, and I was able to offer him my condolences. He's a big supporter of my music, and we have a very good connection, even though politically we're not on the same page.
Hmm.
Politically, we're not on the same page, but we're not going to hurt each other. If he needs me for something, I can call him. If I need something, I can call him. If we can get there, then we can be politically different. All the cells of your body don't have the same mission. The left side of your face is not even exactly like the right side of your
Hmm.
face. I mean, it's not imperative that we're all here thinking alike. But we do need to think of how do we move forward, not how do I make you think more like me or vice versa. Because seldom are we as right as we think we are. Right? We need the opinions of other people. Do I think they're being too heavy-handed with immigration? Like a person goes, they're trying to come in the right way.
Hmm.
They're going to the immigration hearing, and as soon as they come from their immigration hearing, they get snatched and sent to El Salvador. Do I think
That
that?
happened. That happened to my friend recently. Yeah.
Yeah, see that, man. That's unfortunate, but that doesn't mean that from what I'm sure plenty of people see from the left, that doesn't mean that I can't have a concern for the border, right? We do need to have border security. Do we need to snatch people away from their, from church, or do we need to snatch people away from their court hearing when they're trying to do it the right way, or do we need to be having masked people without credentials snatching people? No. Do we need to secure our borders? Of course we do. Do we need to remember that we became a country by being worse than the illegal immigrants that we're deporting? We need to remember that too. If there's ever a country that should be compassionate to immigrants, it's us. Right? Our forefathers were lethal illegal immigrants, came in armed, right? We didn't ask for this country. We came and took it. And even then now, like, there were just millions of dollars paid in the bounties of Indian scalps, skulls, proof that you killed some Indians, right? That was our law. And now we look at it and we'll pride ourselves on we're the ones that settled the West. The slaughtering of people that look at the slaughtering of a whole race and call it settling, that says something about us. Right. So our path forward is one, being able to listen to people that don't think like us to get to what we need and not just argue about what they say. And it also lies in us taking a good, honest look at who we've been and make adjustments so we don't continue to be those people.
Do you think, because we have on this show, we get a lot of geopolitical experts, and we get financial, what do you call it? Like Richard Wolff, people that are into finance, and they kind of overlook how the country's doing. And the same rhetoric I keep hearing is that America is a declining empire. And one of the cases that they're presenting is what you just talked about, is the fact that we can no longer intake as much immigrants anymore. So what do you think about that idea, that notion that America is a declining empire? We are in the declining stages of America.
Well, it depends on how you define it. I think one of the things, if there's a decline, it's not a decline for the people who are at the top. Do you see what I mean? For the rest of us who are looking at the United States as an entity, we see it in decline because there's more and more suffering. Numbers of suffering are going up, but the amount of wealth is going up too. It's just in the hands of fewer and fewer people. Do you see what I mean? So if America collapses, which I hope it doesn't, if it does, those rich are still staying rich. Do you see what I mean? You look at COVID. Look at COVID. The whole country, nobody's working. It's terrible for everybody, except the super rich got richer. Do you see what I mean? So we see it as decline. For the super rich, it's not decline. We decline, they make more. There's in COVID, there were a few pharmaceutical companies that got paid for a vaccine that they never created. Right? That's what Operation Warp Speed was. We're going to pay you for the vaccine now to get rid of all the red tape, and you can just jump right to a vaccine. Well, they got us 3 vaccines, but the other 2-3 pharmaceutical companies just got paid for a vaccine they never came with. The whoever it was that had Zoom, you know what I mean? But maybe it was just coincidence, but not long before that, Amazon purchased Whole Foods. Right? Nobody's going to the grocery store. Whole Foods is delivering. The rich got much richer. It's worse for us. What we see as decline is not decline for the top 10th of 1% who's at the top. It's a decline for the American ideal, liberty, justice for all, the American dream. All you need is, you know, all you need is the sweat of your brow and an idea, and you can make it to the top.
Hmm.
It's in decline for that. It's in decline for that until we decide to be different people. But I think I think there's an ideal in the United States that still persists to our detriment, that if you're going to be rich, it doesn't matter how you do it. That's
Hmm.
embedded in being American because I mean we fought we had a half of the country that tried to leave the country from on the shore just to preserve that idea of free labor, right? We had Americans killing other Americans just so these people had to keep working for free so that we could stay rich. I mean, that's, you look at Mississippi's reasons for seceding from the Union, that's exactly what they say. You're trying to take away our means of living.
Hmm.
But that's embedded in the ideal of being American, is that it doesn't matter how you got rich as long as you get rich. Uh, the worst parts of being American, we don't admit to ourselves. Like when we say, he's a true patriot. 1776. 1776 was about independence, not about freedom.
Hmm.
It was about independence, not about freedom. And the way that you know it, the British in the Revolutionary War offered freedom to slaves if you come fight for us. So a lot of the slaves dropped the plow, put on the British uniform, and fought for the Brits. When the Americans, with the aid of the French, we always forget that part, the Americans, with the aid of the French,
Hmm.
defeat the English, the colonists didn't go, we're separate from England, we're all free, come be free with us. They demanded of Britain to bring us back our property.
Hmm.
See what I mean? So independence for the colonists was slavery for the black person.
Hmm.
That was terrible for the freedom of black people. Well, that's still embedded in Americanism. Like when you hear people start talking about remember 1776 and they start firing guns into the air, there's something in you that goes, this doesn't really feel like it's for me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You feel it
Hmm.
because 1776 wasn't about freedom for anybody except white colonists.
Hmm.
It was slaughter for the Indians, it was slavery for the Africans, it was indenture for the Irish. And if we don't remember that, then we'll keep being that. If I bring that up now, they'll call me woke, right?
Hmm.
And because I'm woke, therefore I'm I'm uh, irresponsibly liberal, and therefore there's no reason for them to listen to me. It's an easy off ramp
Yeah.
from a dis.
Well, I don't know if you noticed how slick it was that they sort of hijacked the term woke. I talked to
Yeah,
one of these spiritual leaders on the show about this because I remember, 15, 20 years ago, being woke was a good thing, right? Like you're woke, it was a good thing.
right. You're
These
aware. You're aware.
Yeah, these were the free thinkers. These were people thinking outside the box. All of a sudden, they hijacked the term. Now it's like has a negative connotation to it. So it's interesting that you bring that up. I'm gonna ask you this with utmost respect because you mentioned I asked you this on the last podcast on SouLivate. Is there such a thing as a Black America? You said yes. So I want to know from you now, again with utmost respect, because I'm an outsider, I'm an immigrant kid. How is Black America doing in 2025 under the Trump administration?
Prove to me that you are alive.